Hello there, Qckslvrslash, and today we have something a little different. I've got a game from Synighte in the Tier 10 American carrier, the Midway, and I don't cover a lot of carrier matches, partly because filming them can be a little difficult. If I leave it on his view, you'll probably notice as he pans around, everything is really chunky, so I'm forced to just manually control the camera, which means I'm gonna often miss some of the drops he does because I can't switch around as quickly as he can. But this is a great game and it's well worth covering because for everyone who kind of knows, big change to the USA carrier line was a change in their loadouts, but also AP bombs. And if you know how to land the AP bombs, they are devastating. They can absolutely wreck battleships and cruisers. Destroyers are a little harder to hit, so they still are what they are, but the AP bomb on the battleship, you're gonna see a lot of sore battleship players out there, and I've noticed playing a resurgence of US carriers. You know, there used to be a fair number of IJN carriers about, simply because you really could control the game. Now the Midway in the long game really came into its own just because of that almost endless hangar. And you can see already Sin has found himself a set of enemy torpedo bombers and is running them down as he puts himself in a nice little spot behind this main ridge. He's got his dive bombers out and he's just doing his best right now with these fighters to spot. He forced their destroyers to pop their smoke and he's just feeling out the map for now. With the carrier, you don't need to go charging in and try to get a strike in the first 10 seconds. That's a great way to throw all your planes away. Be patient, wait for the opening, wait for that enemy battleship or cruiser or whatever it is you plan on attacking to wind up alone. In between, just do your best to really make sure the enemy CV doesn't have a clean shot at any of your guys. And you can see he's getting ready to send his fighters in on these torpedo bombers, and I'm not sure what exactly happened there. I think he was busy dealing with this set of fighters over here and missed a good opportunity at those torp bombers, but he's got them on now, and you can see trying to sneak his torpedo bombers in, looks like, to get some torps off at this smoke, but it can be hard to tell at times. So what do I think of these changes? I think they were overdue. Carriers have needed a rework for a long time. I don't know that this is the answer, but it's proof Wargaming's trying to fix it, and that's key, as this Iowa is about to just eat an absolute crap ton of torpedoes. Good night, sweet ship. 10 torpedo hits and there goes one tier 9 battleship. And that's really what I meant by, like, wait for your opening. That Iowa overextended, there wasn't a lot of AA cover, and he just kind of waited for that enemy fighter group to kind of let them be and then snuck in. And now that he's got that enemy fighter group tied up, he's sending his AP bombers in. If I had to guess, I would go for the turrets. That's what these AP bombs are better at. And you can see positioning in behind, though he may be going for the Midway. Nope, it looks like the turrets getting right in astern of that ship. Nice straight shot in on the drop here. And well, goodbye turrets. 13 hits. And another kill. That's 2 dev strikes in 2 drops, 132,000 damage. And, well, against lower tier battleships, still really shows the power of these carriers. And even before, anytime you're in a game where you had CVs, you had to respect the air power at tier 10. You could be in a cruiser and you're still gonna take some hits. So battleships getting out on their own, a really good way to get yourself in trouble. So meanwhile, on the map, things have kind of gone how you might expect. Enemy team got A. Normally one of the teams, whichever gets a destroyer in here, gets this cap. And then I find B and C on this map just kind of get fought over but never really taken. They're both hard caps to just hold on to. And as we're looking around at the map, you can see the next set of torpedo bombers is out. Planes still queuing, trying to land, rearm to get back in the air. And you can see, pulled the one bomber squadron out, got to get the fighters back up and start protecting his own fleet. Now, despite being down a cap, they are ahead on points simply because of those 2 battleship kills Syn has. And looking at the map, I think we might see a third added on. This Montana is looking mighty lonely. The St. Louis and Minotaur way off on the flank, nowhere near this Monty, which means he doesn't have a lot of air support unless the Midway gets some fighters into place. And if you ever are playing carriers, you're starting to play them, this is what you need to look for, is just those opportunities to get your attack planes in without sacrificing a whole ton of planes. You can see just kind of shooting up the gap, keeping an equal distance from this St. Louis and this Montana. Really, I think just trying to keep his planes unspotted, and it's not going to be the Montana. It looks like he's going to try and teach this French cruiser a lesson. St. Louis kind of just sitting there at range, partway behind an island, and you sit still. Pretty easy for a carrier to get a drop on you, and no amount of speed and acceleration is dodging that. There goes another ship. That's up to 163,000 damage. The AP bombers are back in there, as are the fighters. Meanwhile, Dymegs and his Missouri has kind of just been holding the fort. Got close to some land and just putting shots down. He's got a kill. And their buddy in the Moskva is facing down this Minotaur, and this is one that really the Moskva's more than likely going to win. Bow in like that against a Minotaur. There's not much the Minnow can do. He can aim for superstructure, but it's going to be hard to get damage done. Meanwhile, the fighters are all engaging, and at this point there's not much to do as a CV captain. You've got your fighters locked with their fighters. You've got the Benson helping, and even just having 1 or 2 ships close like that, and in this case the Missouri was close enough to the others, makes all the difference. He gets away with way more planes, and perfect timing because some torp bombers going in on Dymegs. Syn doing everything right, keeping his battleship safe. Because just like that St. Louis or the enemy battleships, Midway torps are dangerous, but having that air cover means none of them get in. And he's kind of just sitting here with his AP bombers, once again just waiting for that opportunity. All of the enemy fighters are now down, so I would expect Syn to group these guys up and start sending them up towards this Montana, Shima, and Atago, because it's time to do damage as the fighters come back to reload. I guess the other option is the kind of suicide run on their Midway who's been spotted. The one thing you got to be wary of these high tier carriers is they do have defensive AA, which means they can protect themselves if you're going in for a drop. At which point you just need to try and bait that carrier into using it, and that may be what we see. We have the torpedo bombers coming up here, AP bombers going out wide. I think he's going to use one of these squadrons to bait and just burn the Midway's AA cooldown and then attack with the other. And in the past, the way you typically do this is, you know, you go in with your bombers, you light maybe a fire, you wait for them to put that out, and then you follow up with the torpedo bombers. Not having the fire chance with the AP bombs definitely messes that up, but with this many torpedoes in a concentrated stream, you almost don't need it. But the enemy Midway right there looks like he activated defensive A, and you can see right away torpedo squadron turns out, and he just commits with the AP bombs, getting a good chunk of damage, 8 hits there, picking up the high caliber. And well, the torpedoes were going towards that Montana, but he's not on much health, so time to go destroyer hunting. Getting chased down by some fighters, and you can see right here with all that clicking, really just trying to steer these torps into a place and be ready for when the shimma gets locked down by that first drop to get that perfect cross drop. And oh, I thought it was going to come there. You can see him kind of just messing around waiting, and there's the drop. Will he connect is the question, and sadly it looks like he's gonna miss. Just astern of the shimma, and well, that's pretty much going to be their game. Their Midway should die really any second here, although the Benson has now switched targets to try and finish off that enemy shimma, and their team's got all the caps. And this, you know, is kind of a chance to point out one of the problems I still see with CVs. In my mind, Synighte played a much better game than the enemy carrier. The enemy carrier lost a lot of his planes and never really got concentrated attacks on any one target. Syn has 3 kills, their guy has none, and that instantly puts their other team at a huge disadvantage. And I'm not sure what the fix to that is, as Syn just absolutely demolished a set of those enemy CV fighters. Well, I guess the CV's dead, so easier thing to do with the strafe when the targets have no command. But yeah, watching those AP bombs just absolutely demolish ships, and then it's still got the torpedoes, the Midway is now a big threat in my mind. It always was, but I think this modified loadout has maybe brought her into consideration as the choice for tier 10 carrier, because she never was. She was great at the long game and random battles. If you could stretch the game out, you started to win with that air superiority loadout. But now 2-2 and 2 this is a good loadout. Syn got a crap ton of damage and is just eating the remaining planes to bolster that finishing stat, as really this game just waits to end. Montana had no health. I haven't seen the Otago in forever. This one's over, so let's jump to the post-battle. And when you look at the final result, 495,000 credits, 4,100 experience, 3 devastating strikes and a high caliber, 210,000 damage, and just those absolutely devastating hits on pretty much full health battleships to start the game really swung this battle. I don't think the enemy team had much a chance. And some of it was some patience at the start, just making sure he didn't throw away his planes trying to get in an early strike. And some of it, I think, was just outplayed that enemy CV. He found the holes, found the places to get damage in, and did it. The whole division finishing top of team 1, 2, and 3. And when you look at the damage, that Tirpitz, the Iowa, the St. Louis, 3 dangerous ships. Granted, some of them not top tier, but all dangerous. All wiped out in one drop, and that has to hurt being those ships. End of the day, took home 267,000 credits and 4,100 XP. I enjoyed watching this, but it also makes me worry, because there's gonna be skill gaps, just as there always is, and I worry people are gonna react to carriers much like they did artillery in World of Tanks and just go, oh, completely overpowered, like there's no skill, and there is a lot of skill. The problem is a little gap in skill can make a big difference in how that plays out, and you kind of saw it in this one. Syn just really took advantage, found the openings, and just devastated the enemy team. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing. Let me know what you think about the changes to the CVs and just carriers in general. What are some potential ideas that you see as a fix if you see there being a problem with them? As always, though, I'm Qckslvrslash, and I'll have another one for you all later.